Good evening, guys. Thank you for joining me today. Guys, we're going to talk about the deteriorating situation in the Middle East at the moment between Israel and Lebanon. At the moment, we're having literal daily exchanges of rocket fire, drone strikes, airstrikes between northern Israel and southern Lebanon. So we're going to get into that. But first, before I go on, earlier on today, I made a video and I said it was quite an ominous video. And I said what would be happening at the Notting Hill Carnival. Now, just quickly, I did a quick search online, and I'm not going to really dwell on this too much now. But the head, so I did a search, Notting Hill Carnival, and I put arrests. So first thing that came up, Notting Hill Carnival struck by violence as one person stabbed, knife seized, and 38 arrested. Police have seized 4 knives and arrested 38 people at the event in West London. Now, I'm not going to comment too much on this now, but when people say we have a 2-tier system, can you imagine or conceptualize if this had have been a protest by people who are perceived to be right-wing? You know, those people who are for family values, those people who see their culture being eroded that are in the United Kingdom. Can you imagine, the police coming out and saying, yeah, this is a mostly peaceful protest, only one person's being stabbed, 38 arrested, and a load of knives confiscated? Can you see the difference in policing, the difference in media, the way the media portray this? You know, we've got this guy from Telegram being arrested. Now, guys, I don't have a Telegram account. Sometimes I have to get one when my friend wants to send me big files because I know they support sending big files. But apart from that, I don't really use Telegram or understand what it's about. But as I understand it, you can have Telegram channels and people can share materials openly. Now, the problem's not the content that's being shared. The problem is people are sharing it, and whoever's shut these people down, they're not bothered about them sharing it. They're bothered what they're sharing, because there's plenty of sites that, share all sorts of indecent images. What they're worried about is people seeing and being able to understand this 2-tier system. So, we've got experience of this ourselves when we was at a protest and the media were portraying it one way, and then you're seeing things with your own eyes, and then people have got phones, and then people are at home saying, well, hang on a minute, that's not what the TV's telling me is happening. And this is what's driving, this is what's fueling this unrest in the United Kingdom. And, and as we've explored around the world in general, you've got one thing on the TV and they're telling you, X is happening. And then you've got 50 people with camera phones recording the same thing. And they're thinking, well, no, that's not what's happening at all. And the problem is people who are showing the truth, people who are showing the reality of the situation on the ground, they're the ones who are being victimized. They're the ones who are being closed down. They're the ones who are being ostracized and put in prison. Guys, I did a video on this, on our other platform, and I said these things are going to get worse. There's darker days to come. I said the first people that stick up and stand out against this, they're going to be the ones that people come down the hardest on. They're going to be the ones that people come down on more draconianly. And that's what you're going to see. You're going to see these people get closed down. You're going to see all these channels get closed down. And of course, you shouldn't be spreading hate. Nobody should be spreading misinformation. But the reality is, who decides what information is misinformation? So anyway, guys, we're going to talk about the Middle East and the crisis in the Middle East at the moment. Now, I'm going to go I'm going to go initially from an article from Hezbollah. Israel's war on Gaza live. Hezbollah says the first phase of the attack is now over. So we can only speculate what this means, and we can only speculate from now on. But what we could be seeing right now is the beginning to this wider conflict. Remember, Hezbollah, the Lebanon, these are vassal states of Iran. Iran controls these, as does Iran control the Gaza Strip. Iran controls Hamas. So all these enemies that are surrounding Israel, they are all on the pay books under the control of Iran. Now, if Iran was going to do a large attack, they're not going to do the large attack first, like what you've seen in Russia when Putin sent his old equipment. You know, when Putin sent in his old equipment, troops he didn't particularly like, you know, they can get rid of them, and then, you know, the Israelis, they would use up all their good munitions, they would use up all their Iron Dome stores on these cheap drones. And remember, a lot of these cheap missiles and cheap drones cost maybe, you know, south of $1,000. I have no idea how much the Iron Dome missile costs, but I can, you know, you can imagine it's quite expensive. Not only is it expensive, you've then got the radar dishes that control them. You've got the hydraulic systems that control the targeting of the rockets. You've got all sorts of stuff fed into this system. Now, once the Iron Dome has been, you know, once it's exhausted its munitions, it's useless. So that's when you could see the main Iranian strike coming. And I've said this for so long, guys, you know, and we've got people like, what does he say? Hang on, David Lammy, he commented something. Where are we? So 29 minutes ago at 19:20 GMT, Britain says escalation must be avoided at all costs. Nice work, David. Britain has called for restraint after the largest clashes between Israel and Hezbollah since the start of the war in Gaza. Further escalation in the Middle East must be avoided at all costs, Foreign Secretary David Lammy posted on X after a call with Israeli Minister of Strategic Affairs Ron Dermer. Now, if you remember, when David Lammy went to the Middle East, went to Israel to, you know, he went there to sort this all out. David Lammy's there now. He's got this all covered. Nobody had talked to him. Netanyahu made him wait outside. He said, no, we've got a clash of timings. The reality is, you know, nobody's going to talk to David Lammy because of his previous stance, his previous comments, how, you know, and nobody, you know, and that's the reality of the situation. So where it's all well and good, you know, people saying, you know, we want to be this, we want to do that, we want to do this. When you're a politician, you have to make things work. And if nobody's going to talk to you, you can't negotiate anything. I can guarantee that. Equally to that, when communications break down, you can't communicate and you can't negotiate anything. But when communications break down, that's when conflict is rife, because neither side knows what the other side are doing. Each side assumes the worst, and then these things escalate. So what we could have at the moment is we could have this as the beginning of the Middle Eastern war. We've got, at the moment, we've got a huge buildup of US, British, warships in the Mediterranean. Now, I think all of those pale into insignificance when you've got RAF Akateria right on the south coast of Cyprus, which is right there. That's in a commanding position in the Mediterranean. So, guys, and when I say an RAF base, it's like it's not even like a small town. It's like a relatively large town, RAF Akateria. It's absolutely huge. If you've ever been there, there's the road what's the main road? It's called like Flamingo. I want to say Flamingo Way or something. The Flamingo Way. I don't know. And that's basically the main road that goes through it. And you have a whole camp, and it's like a small village. You've got everything in there. You've got houses, bars, restaurants, shops, literally everything you would have in a small village. And that thing can be totally isolated and self-contained. Now, with that strategic asset there, that pales all the warships into insignificance, because warships are made of steel and steel sinks. You can't really sink an island. And, I know the Houthis, sorry, not the Houthis. I know Hezbollah have, they've threatened RAF Akateria, they've threatened Cyprus. The reality is they can't really put a significant threat down onto that airbase. It's too big. There's too many defenses. Yes, they can take out the runway, but then it'll just get repaired because there's a lot of technology that can repair these runways. So in the Middle East, you have a lot of Israeli assets, a lot of Israeli allies. in that region. So it makes sense if Iran was going to start a conflict, you know, and by conflict, I mean, it's going to have to be a long range conflict, because I don't think troops on the ground, logistically, I just don't think it's possible at the moment. So what you would see is as you have done now, you've seen Hezbollah start to fire, and what they would be wanting to do is exhaust the Israelis' defense. Once the Israeli defense is exhausted, I mean their Iron Dome systems, I mean their interceptor rockets, I mean their aircraft with their interceptor capacity, then the Iranians would normally, that's when they'd want to do their strike then. So it would have maximum damage, maximum impact. We can't forget what the Iranians, you know, you can't forget their culture, their mentality, their life philosophy. Remember, you know, from my previous video, if the Iranians show retreat, if they back off, if they do a withdrawal, then that is, what's the word? What did they use? They used in their holy book in the Quran, they used divine, they will suffer divine retribution, I think it is. You know, so this is the reason why when the Iranians say they're going to attack, when they say they're going to strike, when the supreme leader, and guys, you know, he's like 85 now, he's been in that seat a long time. When they say they're going to strike back and they're going to, you know, this is going to happen, it is going to happen at some point. And what I think we could be seeing at the moment is the beginning of this, by the ways of the, you know, the Hezbollah firing, making Israel use all its weapon systems, and then that would open the gates for a large strike, which then leaves the Iranians with the choice then. Do they target the warships, knowing that the warships are going to be targeting them with their aircraft? Do they target RAF Akrotiri, knowing it's a NATO base? And this whole region is an absolute hotbed at the moment, guys. I think it's about to flare up. It could flare up any moment now. It could have already started. You know, this time tomorrow morning, we could be watching the news and, you know, there could have been huge escalations. Let's not forget as well that in Israel itself, I think there's 3 huge nuclear power plants. They have to have nuclear. They don't really have any, they can't rely on hydrocarbons because of the, you know, there's no stability of them getting in. And they can't really, you know, they don't really have the capacity to do anything else. It's too dense. You know, Israel's too dense to have solar panels. So nuclear kind of is the only way forwards. But these nuclear power plants, these are well-known locations, and the Iranians could be targeting them. And you could see a Chernobyl effect where you have, you know, a reactor go down or a strike on a nuclear plant, which would then obviously, you know, would have catastrophic effects. Guys, that is it. Hang on, let me just refresh this, guys, and see if anything's turned up. I'll put this link in the description. It's a live document. Oh, something has come up. All right, okay, so this is 6 minutes ago, guys. Israeli forces carry out raid in southern Lebanon. Our colleagues at Al Jazeera report Israeli drone raid has targeted the vicinity of the Eastern Tower in Zautar. More details are awaited. So that's all we know at the moment, guys. Hezbollah and Israel, yeah. So colleagues of Al Jazeera Arabic reporter that an Israeli drone raid has targeted the vicinity of the Eastern Tower at Zautar. Guys, I'm just going to quickly have a look where that is, if you bear with me. And if it's of anything of any insignificance, I will share it with you. Maps. No. No, I can't see anything there. No, it's nothing there. Well, there obviously is something there, but I can't see it all straight away on the maps. So that's it, guys. You know, as of a couple of minutes ago, that, you know, both sides here are striking each other. These things are escalating. This is in real time, literally 6 minutes ago. Our colleagues at Al Jazeera Arabic report that an Israeli drone raid has targeted the vicinity of the Eastern Tower of Zautar. Guys, the situation there is escalating literally minute by minute. You know, things are going further and further, and we could actually start to see the war in the Middle East just started. You know, we could call it now. I would say it has just started because of what we're seeing now. Like I said at the beginning of this video, we're seeing daily exchanges. Now we're seeing exchanges like hourly exchanges. And by the time I read this article, there was another exchange. Israeli forces carried out a raid in southern Lebanon. So that's the situation on the ground, guys. Okay, this could have actually, the war in the Middle East could have just started. Anyway, guys, I'm going to Mag to Grid. If there's anything more I need to update you on with regards to this, I'll let you guys know. And you guys have a good night.